I walked into the prom, some girl from Lincoln Place said that I look like a bellhop, and it ruined my night. All right, everybody, welcome to our Pittsburgh Podcast presented by Better Call Cy. I am your host, Bill Crawford. How's everybody doing out there? We got a lot to get to today. We got a quick comment section for you. Kennedy graduated high school. Talk about her graduation. I'm going to talk a little bit about my graduation. I'm going to talk about how out of control these GPAs are now that these kids are getting. I'm going to talk about some summer fun. I'm going to talk about construction season. Morgan Wallen canceled his concert over the weekend. There's Cancellation truthers online. But first and foremost, I have to say, thank you guys so much for listening to episode 10 with Sean Casey. It was a tremendous conversation, and I have a phenomenal story that I have to start this episode with. If you haven't seen the episode, I highly recommend going back and giving it a watch. It is a tremendous conversation about fatherhood, about the lessons he learned from his father, about the lessons he's trying to instill in his kids, and just about his journey, from being a kid who didn't start on his JV baseball team and wasn't scouted to a very successful major league career that lasted 12 seasons. I mean, the guy's a career 300 hitter, all the way to him starting Casey's Clubhouse and sort of the inspiration behind that. And this is where I have to start because this is absolutely amazing and proof positive that what we're doing here has an impact. And it was just an incredible moment for me personally to be able to, first of all, do that podcast with Sean, to have that conversation. We posted it on Tuesday of last week. Wednesday, I woke up with a text from the executive director of Casey's Clubhouse saying that because of this podcast, they received $50,000 from Centermark Roofing Company. Somebody that's sitting on the board of Casey's Clubhouse sent that podcast to Tim Dunlap of Centermark Roofing Company because he was name checked in the episode. If you go back and watch, Sean says that Centermark Roofing was the first company to give him $50,000 for the original field 16 years ago. And he just threw in another $50,000 to start this new project. And so, I couldn't be more grateful and more humbled that, we're doing something here that's having a positive impact in the community. I'm so happy because, when we came up with this idea, Cy and I, Better Call Cy, we came up with this idea for calling for helpers. We wanted to help people in the community, but when you're trying to figure something out like this, you don't have a proof of concept. You have a vision and you hope it connects. The first one we did was with the food bank. I thought that the food bank is an incredible place, and I thought that the content that we did at the food bank and during that month was really good, but I don't know if it connected. And for this one, we were scheduled to go up to the field and shoot a bunch of footage just like we did for our day of action at the food bank. And the weather was kind of bad. That's a theme here in Pittsburgh, the weather being terrible. And so we pivoted. And I said, what if we just did a podcast where I kind of talked to Sean and we told his story, and then near the end, we got into the story of Casey's Clubhouse, and we did it that way. And it worked. It connected. Day one of posting this podcast, $50,000. That is amazing. So first of all, thank you so much to Tim Dunlap and Centermark. I know how important they've been to Casey's Clubhouse, and they are starting this dream all over again for a new field. And it's crazy because this Tuesday, June 9th, is the day of giving, because June 9th, 2011, 16 years ago, was the day that they broke ground on the original field. And so I'm going to be up at the field tonight. It's the first day of the summer league. And so I invite you guys to come up to this field and see what we've been talking about, experience the magic for yourself. Or if you can, go to caseysclubhouse.org and give some amount of money. Today is the day of giving. If it's $5, great. If it's $10, even better. $50, I have about 1,000 subscribers. If every one of us gave $50, that's 50 grand right there. And we are on our way to $4 million or $5 million or whatever it's going to take to get this field built, because I guarantee this field is going to be built. And so it's just tremendous that we got to start off the month of calling for helpers with Casey's Clubhouse in this way. So thank you guys so much for watching it. And please, again, go back and watch it if you haven't, and share it with as many people as possible. We're trying to get the word out there and make a positive impact in our community. All right, we also have a comment section for you here. This is a short one. The Gardell video, another video that resonated with a lot of folks from Pittsburgh. If you haven't seen that video, I posted it to my Instagram, Facebook. I think it's on Twitter. Billy's talking all about Pittsburgh and what he hangs on to, and then he compares it all or wraps it all up in the Immaculate Reception. And it resonated with a lot of people, including Michael Keaton, who commented, "All true," with a yellow heart emoji, "good guy." And I sent it to Billy and told him that the clip that he put out was basically a bat signal to all Pittsburghers. And he got Batman to comment. How crazy is that? Unreal. And I think him and Billy are becoming friends, because we got word from one of our contacts at the Steelers that Michael Keaton saw the Steelers schedule release video with me and Billy in it and liked it. And man, I hope those two become friends. And if they do become friends, I want them to do a podcast in this studio together. I won't even be in here, but I just feel like if Michael Keaton and Billy Gardell start talking about Pittsburgh in this room, some sort of Yinzer portal will open up and we'll see like Fred Rogers and Myron Cope on the laser loop or something. I really hope that happens. That's also why I wear Pittsburgh gear when I travel, because it's basically a bat signal to Yinzers across the globe. And I've had so many great interactions, whether it's on my vacations or working around the U.S. or around the world. I mean, I told you guys in a previous podcast about some Yinzer from Altoona that we met in Kuwait because my buddy Steve Byrne was wearing a Penguins hat. I was in Vegas doing a hike at the Calico Tanks, which is like 30 miles off the strip. And I had a pirate hat on, and I'm walking, and this guy's like, "Hey, you got a pirate hat? Where are you from?" And I tell him where I'm from and where I live. The guy is from Mount Lebanon, grew up 3 blocks from where I currently live. That doesn't happen unless I'm wearing some kind of gear. Now, I'm not saying you should go overboard with it. I mean, I don't get outlandish with it. I just wear enough where I can connect with another person from Pittsburgh out in the wild. You can't be obnoxious with it, all right? You can't travel like you're going to a game, because Steeler fans, when they're going to a game, they dress like they just won a shopping spree at the pro shop, but the only catch was they could only keep what they could wear out of the store, because they got Steeler socks on, Steeler shoes, we got Steeler underpants, we got Steeler belts, we got Steeler pants, we got Steeler undershirts, we got Steeler purses, Steelers earrings, we got Steeler Crocs, Steeler neck warmers, Steeler hats, terrible towels coming out of every pocket. It's too much. Just something. A nice little towel coming out of the pocket like a furry tail. You got to have a little something. I'm going on vacation next month, and there will be some Pittsburgh article of clothing on me every day we're there. I can't do it any other way. And it's almost like I'm nervous that I'm going to run into somebody from Pittsburgh somewhere that might recognize me and I don't have Pittsburgh stuff on. That scares me more than feeling embarrassed by wearing Pittsburgh stuff. I would be embarrassed if I didn't have something on. What else? The last time we spoke, I was telling you Kennedy was graduating. She had her last days of school. And it reminded me why I moved out here to Mount Lebanon. The last days of school were a dream. I mean, she had T-shirt day where they're all wearing the T-shirts of the colleges they're going to go to. There was senior sunsets, senior brunches. That's why we moved here. I mean, this is incredible. T-shirt day at Alderdice was like, what are you going to wear? The airbrushed Bugs Bunny T-shirt or the airbrushed Tasmanian Devil T-shirt that you got at the mall? Senior sunsets? No, we did senior blackouts. That's what we did. Senior skip day? That was every day. Brunch? No, you get beat up. You would do brunch. You get beat up doing brunch in Pittsburgh, in the city. But it was so nice. They went to prom, and the prom was actually in their school. This is another thing about Alderdice. And I talk about Alderdice like I didn't have a good time. I had a great time at Alderdice. But there were things that I think just, kind of sucked about going to school there. Like, we didn't have any events on site. We never had a dance at the school. Our field, we played at South Stadium. There was metal detectors. So there was no school spirit. Nobody's going to the south side to potentially get curb stomped outside the building. Like, nobody went to the games. This prom for Mount Lebanon, some other parents sent me pictures. It looked like a J-Lo video. It was unbelievable. There's lasers. I mean, it's right in the school. It's incredible. Their graduation ceremony was on the field. The bleachers were completely filled on both sides. My whole family showed up, my young nieces and nephews, and we did this fun game. I'm throwing this game out there to anybody who has young kids at a graduation ceremony, because there was 453 kids. So this ceremony was long. So you're going to need to come up with little games and devices to keep these kids from, going nuts. From starting to slap each other around and throw gum in each other's hair. So what we did was we just slid our fingers down the rows and just picked a kid at random that we were going to go ape shit for. And we picked Chase Clipper. I mean, I don't know who this kid is. I know that he's in the National Honor Society. Good job. And he's on the high honor roll. This kid's a stud. I'm wishing Chase Clipper well. I hope that you heard us going crazy for you and you kind of wondered what was going on. That was us. Chase Clipper, we wish you all the best. The Crawfords, the Bartons, we wish you the best, Chase Clipper. You go out there and you crush this world. You do it for us. And then, we obviously cheered like crazy for Kennedy. I'm going to post that video. My niece's boyfriend goes to Central, and he was sitting on the other side of the field. He said we were the loudest all night. And at the beginning of this podcast, I think episode 1, I talked to you guys about how, both of my parents are from Greenfield, and Greenfield's Baseball Association, the GPA, is celebrating its 75th season. And right at the beginning of the Greenfield Little League Baseball Association, my grandmother was a top row rooter. And it was basically a bunch of women who would sit on the top step of the concrete bleachers in Greenfield, right above where it says Greenfield, a fine residential community. And they were basically the concession stand. They would have drinks and sandwiches that they were keeping in a garage across the street that they would sell, and they would root for all the little kids, and they were called the top row rooters. And so we are descendants of a top row rooter. So when we show up, we go crazy. And actually, my dad goes way too crazy. He cheers so loud that all the kids are completely uncomfortable. But in this setting, it was perfect. we went crazy, and Kennedy ended up not hearing it at all. So that was cool. But I tell you what, I loved the speech. I don't remember anything from my graduation, and we'll get to that in a second. Not a single word. Couldn't tell you anything that happened during my graduation. But this girl that gave the speech for the 2026 graduating class of Mount Lebanon, Abigail Zahida, tremendous. I've been thinking about it ever since. She talked about the Artemis 2 moon mission, and she kind of used it as a metaphor. And she talked about how taking off is not the first step. It all starts with, ambition to create change. And then she talked about the commander, Reed Wiseman, being a pretty normal kid who went to public school and was in a marching band and went to the Naval Academy before joining NASA and piloting this orbit around the moon and reaching the farthest distance from Earth that humans have ever traveled. And I thought it was so great how she humanized him. She didn't include this, but it's hilarious. And this is true. This guy is afraid of heights. So he'd be scared on a balcony at the La Quinta, but this guy's on the dark side of the moon and he's fine. A really great speech. And I think you kind of almost have to be older like I am now to appreciate it. I don't know if Kennedy appreciated this speech. She said she did. And I asked her about this girl, and she said she graduated with the highest of honors, and she was in every single club and had a 4.5 GPA or something like that. And it just made me think, what the hell's going on with these GPAs now? Kids are getting 4.3s, taking all AP classes. How do you even get a 4.3? How do you get above a 4? Are you solving the math equation in Good Will Hunting? What are you doing? It's I have a 5.7. I actually cured HPV. And I defeated a Russian chess grandmaster that was flown in for my final. Oh, that's cool. No, that is cool. I got an 8.4. I took 7 Princeton classes and disproved Einstein's theory of relativity. It's did you guys ever just, get a snow cone and go to the park? Stare at a tree with your mouth open for an hour? No, I got an 11.3. I rewrote all the curriculum at the school, and I'm actually the principal now. The hell? I'm actually not comfortable telling you what my GPA was. And like I said, I don't remember anything from my graduation except for the fact that it was at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. Again, nothing is on property. Everything was somewhere else. And I definitely didn't know who David L. Lawrence was when I was graduating high school. I didn't know who he was until about 50 minutes ago. I looked it up a while back, and he's probably our best mayor ever. He's also the only Pittsburgh mayor to also become Pennsylvania governor. This guy's story is incredible. He was an Irish Catholic immigrant who grew up near the Point in the Golden Triangle neighborhood. He was too poor to go to college. He served as an officer in World War I. He was chairman of the Allegheny County Democratic Convention. He served 4 terms as mayor. I mean, we talk about revitalization a lot in this city, especially, with the draft and the money from the state. And David L. Lawrence actually developed a 7-point program for Pittsburgh during his first days in office, making him one of the first civic leaders to implement a dedicated urban renewal plan. And Republicans basically still controlled much of the city and the politics and business at that time. So he had to forge a bipartisan alliance to accomplish his objectives. And he formed a partnership with R.K. Mellon, who was a staunch Republican, and that partnership basically started the revitalization of Pittsburgh. It's called the Pittsburgh Renaissance, later called Renaissance 1. They did a ton of stuff. They cleared out the Point and made that whole area Gateway Center. This is a little bit more controversial, but they cleared the lower part of the Hill District and made way for the Civic Arena. They did a ton of stuff to make Pittsburgh what it is today. And this was crazy. I read this, that his first year as mayor was very tumultuous. Listen to this. Union workers at Duquesne Light Company went on strike. This shut off the power in Pittsburgh for 27 days. Steel workers went on strike for 26 days. Westinghouse Electric Corporation workers went on strike for 115 days. He also faced 2 coal strikes, a 53-day hotel strike, and according to his obituary in the Pittsburgh Press, he dealt with 81 other work stoppages. I thought it was bad when Corey O'Connor became the mayor and his first big snow, half the fleet of snowplows shit the bed. That looks like a walk in Bird Park comparatively. I mean, that's incredible. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember anything really from my prom other than I wore the stupidest white jacket you've ever seen. It didn't have a collar, like that was big in 98. Suit jackets with no collars. There was no bow tie. There was like an opal. I walked into the prom, no idea where it was. Some girl from Lincoln Place said that I looked like a bellhop, and it ruined my night. All I remember. I remember being at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center for my graduation, but I think it's only because I have pictures of it. I don't know that I remember anything else about it. If you look at this picture that hopefully we're going to overlay, you'll see that I have a Figaro gold chain and a nice little gold hoop earring. Real jag-off in 98. This guy was. But I think I have to balance this out just a little bit. I have to tell you a positive story about Alderdice here that I'm very grateful for. Miss Munns was an English teacher. She taught an AP English class, or it was English for PSP. I don't even know if they had AP back then. It was the first scholar class that I took. I figured I'd try to challenge myself once before I got out of there. Really hadn't applied myself at all up to that point. And when she went over the course syllabus, there was so much reading that I asked her to drop the class after she got done with the syllabus that day. And she was like, "Why?" And I said, "There's just too much reading. I'm not interested in this class." And she said, I'm not letting you drop this class. You come in, you give me some effort, you show that you're trying, you read these books, and I'll give you a C." And I was like, all right, that doesn't sound like a terrible idea. And that unlocked a passion for reading that I still have to this day. I'm 46 years old. And it was like this woman turned the light on for me before I walked out the door. I can't thank her enough. So much gratitude for her. And the craziest thing ever is that we move out to Mount Lebanon so that my daughters can get a good education. And the first day of school, after I pick them up, I'm coming back home and I'm driving and I'm like, I see this woman walking this little dog. And I'm like, girls, hold on. I got to circle around the block. I think this was my teacher. And it was Miss Munns. And I got to pull up next to her, roll the window down, and tell her the impact that she made on me. And it turns out now that I moved a block away from where she lives. How crazy is that? And I'm so dumb that I thought at the time that all the teachers lived in the school. I don't know if I thought that all the way in high school, but I definitely thought that at some point, like they were all like the Keebler elves. I don't know what the hell I thought, but I thought they at least lived in the neighborhood where they taught. The concept of them going to a different neighborhood or school district to teach never crossed my mind. And now, you know, I'm in a relationship with a teacher and I tell her all the time how important teachers are. You know, a lot of the times they are planting seeds that they never get to see grow, because a lot of those moments and those kids that they've impacted don't come back to them necessarily. But I have a hard time seeing her out in the neighborhood and not just telling her what a wonderful person she is and what a gift she gave me in my life every time I see her. She's probably annoyed. I've told her the story like 3 or 4 times. She's like, yeah, no, I get it. I know that being a teacher is hard, but man, is it impactful potentially. I mean, you got to care, right? You can't just like mail it in and be impactful. But the other thing that's cool about being a teacher is you get the whole summer off. And so school is out now, and there is just a ton going on. I was busy all weekend long. They had the regatta going on up at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company. Iron City's bringing back the regatta. I mean, how Pittsburgh is that? You got a regatta, and their brewmaster's name is Mike Carrata. So Mike Carrata got a regatta. I didn't make it up there, but I hope that they had a great time up there. I actually, on Friday night, I went to First Fridays on Penn. Have you been to this? It's called Unblurred. It's Pittsburgh's longest running art crawl. I had never been to it, and to be honest with you, I'd never heard of it. I'll just read this from their website. First Friday of every month, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. The next one is on July 3rd, and I think you got to go. It's in a part of town most of you have probably never been to. It's the Garfield, Bloomfield, Friendship, Shady Side, East Liberty area. The people watching is through the roof. Super unique part of town. And there's just a super unique vibe going on in that part of town. To me, it feels like what Lawrenceville was 15 years ago. Just the most progressive part of town, all these new shops popping up, creatives and artists seemingly in every damn storefront. They have transformed that place into a living piece of art. I love that part of town where all those neighborhoods collide. And I got to see my buddy Vinny do another one of his street studios for the Children's Home, which is another phenomenal Pittsburgh institution, nonprofit that's been around for 130 years. They do everything from adoption to pediatric care to counseling to therapy, inpatient, outpatient, caring for the families, giving them a place to stay, long-term care, training the families how to deal with special needs children. It's incredible what they do, and he got to create this piece of art out front with passersby, and it was incredible what they created. Hopefully, we can overlay that here as well. Saturday, we wanted to go to Arts Fest, but the weather kind of scared us away. We're going to get to the weather in a second with Morgan Wallen canceling his Saturday concert. But we went Sunday instead, and we had an incredible day downtown. We started at Kelly O's. All right, the girlfriend had never been to Kelly O's. So to christen somebody with Kelly O's for me was very special. We got freshly squeezed orange juice, Mancini's toast, got the famous breakfast, shredded potatoes, over easy, sausage patties, the works. She loved it, but then, we had to walk it off. So we just stayed parked there. We walked through the Strip District and into town where the Arts Fest was going on. Got to check out Arts Landing. That park is phenomenal. If you haven't been down to check that out, please go. Arts Fest is next weekend as well. And she was laughing at me because I was basically speed walking through the whole thing. And I don't know if anybody else does this. I like the sound of saying I did something more than I like actually doing it. I was walking so fast, I barely saw in any of the tents. I don't know what was going on in there. There's probably some incredible art. I wouldn't know. I didn't stop. I was walking off my Kelly O's famous breakfast and just trying to get through it so that I could tell people, yeah, we were down at Arts Fest today. And then we went in this place called the Eagle that's right off of Arts Landing and got a couple of drinks. And it's just fun, man. Day drinking in your 40s is the way to go. And then we had to walk that off. So we did that. And by the time we got back into the Strip District, we were kind of hungry. So we stopped at Ironborn and had some pizza. Ironborn, again, if you haven't been, you like pizza, you like the deep dish, Detroit style, you got to go. Love Ironborn, and I hope that they wouldn't take this as an insult. I mean it as the highest form of praise, because in a lot of ways, the ingredients are way better. But for me, that first bite of Ironborn tastes like my childhood at Pizza Hut, because it has the crunch, it has the flavor, it almost has like the flavor of like a Little Caesars breadstick from back in the day. It's so good. And again, I mean no disrespect, it is tremendous. So we had some Ironborn, and then we went home, and it was like, we're cooked, we're done. Like, that was the day. Oh, we did also see like the tail end of the Pride Parade, and I mean no pun by this, but we did also see a furry in the Pride Parade, and it's way too hot to be in a full fox head, man. And I know that the furry convention is coming up in July, and I think they have to plan this better. Maybe they're trying to do it in July. Maybe they want to do it in July. It's July 2nd through the 5th, so they'll be here for the 250th anniversary of our country down at Point State Park. They'll be here for the 4th of July. I just think it's way too hot to be in full mascot garb, sweating your face off. I mean, these guys are out there sweating like a boxer trying to make weight. I also did have this question about the furries and where they fit into the LGBTQIA plus community. It's got to be the plus, right? I guess they can be anywhere on the spectrum, but I'm just saying, like, as a furry, it's got to be the plus, right? I mean, it gets confusing. I feel bad that these people are going to have to be high-stepping through downtown dressed as, Mr. Wolf from The Bad Guys when it's 90 degrees out. It's just, it's too hot. It's just too hot. I drove past the furry convention last year, and there was a group of what looked like antelopes wearing leather motorcycle vests. And I had this thought in my head that they were Gazelle's angels. And I just laughed for about 15 minutes. And then I started thinking about them trying to ride motorcycles. And there's no way you could be dressed as an antelope and ride a motorcycle, right? Like, there's no way you could hit the pedals with those plastic hooves. Your blind spot would be absurd. The head would probably come off if you got on the parkway. And then I started to imagine, like, what if they were in a gang? You would definitely never want to buy drugs from Gazelle's Angels, right? Because, like, most drugs are stepped on, but these drugs would be stepped on, like stampeded on. These drugs would be like migrated on. Plus, any of those drug dealers dressed like antelopes would want to meet you in an open field or a plane somewhere. And, then, the cops can see you and they don't care because they can run up to 40 miles an hour and now they have motorcycles. That's very dumb. But hey, listen, shout out to the furries. They are celebrating 20 years in Pittsburgh. Anthrocon is celebrating 20 years this year. It's incredible. I can't believe it's been 20 years. 2006, they started coming to Pittsburgh to have their convention at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. And honestly, they do a lot for the city as far as booming the economy. I mean, the furries do what the NFL draft promised us they would do for the city of Pittsburgh. So shout out to the furries. And I don't know, maybe you can get some fans built in those suits because it's going to be hot as hell when you guys come here. Oh, what else? Oh, my God. Morgan Wallen canceled his second concert on Saturday night over the weekend, and people are still pissed. And I get that, man, because that was going to be the concert of the summer for a lot of those folks. That dude is doing Taylor Swift numbers right now. The first night, Friday, was a sellout. 70,000 people crammed into Acrisure. And, he does this walkout thing, and that's become like one of his trademarks. Who's he going to get? So we kind of got robbed of that on night 2. Night 1 was Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle had his Olympic gold medal on. That was pretty gangster. I don't know who was going to be night 2, but I'll tell you who it deserves to be. It deserves to be Bob Pompiani. Nobody has done more for the city and would have more fun with the walkout than Pomp. Pomp would be dancing his ass off down the hallway, and people would go nuts because Pomp dances. Pomp's a dancer. You get Pomp at an event, Pomp's throwing down TikTok dances. He's got moves. He deserves it. And I hope he gets it whenever Morgan Wallen reschedules. But people are straight up pissed because they canceled, because of the weather. They were talking about high winds, and people were pissed off about that because the weather had cleared up by the time the concert would have happened. But man, you got to respect this weather right now. I mean, Pittsburgh weather, right? We've been having some Ghostbuster-like weather. I don't think you need to play around with stuff like that. My dad came over because it's also grad party season, and he was going to a grad party with some of my nieces and nephews, and he was like, "There's going to be hail," and I was like, "Oh, like hail to Pitt? Yeah, because the Jackson is going to Pitt. That's pretty cool." He's like, "No, like hail balls, like hail." So. I mean, yeah, I could have seen that happening. Trees are falling all over the place, and there were still places in Washington County and south of the city that got crushed. Trees down, power out, power still out. So I think you kind of have to respect it from that point of view. But people were pissed and talking online that there was something else going on. Allegedly, he was on a plane before the announcement was even made. I don't know. I mean, you could get lost in a wormhole trying to figure that stuff out. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. He could definitely have some drama going on. This guy is basically the AB of country music. I mean, he's throwing furniture off of balconies. He's flipping pianos. He's using the N-word way more than he should. He's using the N-word. Let's just full stop there, and not way more than he should. Like there's an acceptable amount. Uses the N-word, full stop. The other thing that I thought was funny was that his opener got dragged online for calling Tequila Cowboy a dive bar. And it kind of reminded me of the time I took my daughters to the South Side for the first time. We saw 2 women wearing like matching sweatsuits, and my daughter asked me if they were from jail. And I was like, what? Like, I don't think they escaped from prison and wanted to hurry up to catch a sale at Ace Athletic. Like, I don't think they ran across the 10th Street Bridge to try to hurry up and get sweatsuits. But I guess to him, maybe it seemed like a dive bar. But I honestly, I do feel bad if you made plans, man, because he's doing like Taylor Swift type numbers right now. And people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars, especially if you traveled. That's got to burn. I mean, at least you got to tailgate a little bit. Maybe you got to see his opener in that dive bar, Tequila Cowboy, and then maybe went over and got some dinner at that diner, Hyde Park. But that stinks. You know what else stinks? Summer is also, in addition to concerts and vacations, construction season, and it's well underway. If you've driven around, you probably noticed. Over the weekend, Country Club Drive Bridge, have you ever heard of this bridge? It's over 19 between Upper St. Clair and Peters. They blew that bridge up. And let's be honest, not our best bridge. I don't know much about it other than the country club seems to have spared every expense on building it. I could tell you that. They did that thing underneath it where the Greenfield Bridge did it. It's like they built like a little tiny litter box to catch all like the bridge turds so it didn't crush people's cars on their way to or from the mall. They shut down 19 for the whole day Saturday and part of Sunday, and it was a 7-mile detour to get up 19 between the McLaughlin Run Road and Boyce Road. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think we need to rebuild that one. I think we can just keep that one blown up. We're going to have to downsize here because we have 446 bridges and they're all falling apart at the same time. So we got to be selective. And I don't know who built this city, but I think it's pretty clear they were on cocaine. Especially when they did the bridges downtown. They were like, you want to do one more? Let's do one more. They were like, guys, we just built a bridge 35 feet ago. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. I want to do one more. Call Carnegie. See if he'll give us some deal on some steel. See if he'll give us a deal on some steel. I don't know. There's so many bridges. The Commercial Street Bridge, that's the bridge right out of the Squirrel Hill tunnels on the east end of town. I'm just putting this on your radar. July 11th through the first week of August, they're going to blow that bridge up. And then I think they have the other bridge already built and it's on roller skates and they're just going to slide it over. They're saying it's only going to be 25 days. I'm calling BS on that. I'm expecting massive delays. If you live in the East, maybe, I don't know, shelter in place for a month, visit some family somewhere else. I got some facts on this construction project. $95 million it's going to cost for this bridge. It's 840 feet long. It's 85 feet high. It weighs 22 million pounds. And somehow they're going to put this thing on hydraulic jacks. There's like 42 of them. Each of them weighs 700 tons. And they're going to move it 100 feet, 3 feet at a time. I don't think there's going to be an implosion party because I actually don't think they're going to blow the bridge up. And so this whole technique that they're doing is called ABC, Accelerated Bridge Construction. And they're saying that they're doing it that way, partly because they have the space to build the bridge next to the bridge, and partly because the way that they're doing it, it's only going to cause massive delays for 25 days instead of 4 years. 100,000 vehicles travel over that bridge every day. Detour disaster. Because usually when there's a lot of traffic in that area, commercial is the detour. But commercial itself is going to be closed for like 3 months. But I guess it had to be done, right? We have aging infrastructure. Like I said, 446 bridges, and all of them are falling apart at the same time. PennDOT actually put a map out there of all of the bridges in the area that are in poor condition. Don't look at that map. It's like a sex offender map. That thing is lit up. It'll make you want to move to like Iowa or somewhere flat where there's no bridges to travel over. It'll make you paranoid. You will start emptying your trunk and dressing lightly if you look at this map. So please do me a favor and do not look at that map. But I think this is just, sort of part of growing up in Pittsburgh. If you grew up here, your life has been traumatized by some sort of construction, a bridge, a tunnel. They were rebuilding a guardrail on 28 for like 30 years, I think. Look, credit where credit is due. It's a solid guardrail, but there is nonstop traffic. And I was looking at some of the construction that's going to be going on over the summer. They're going to be doing stuff in the Liberty tunnels. They're going to be doing stuff in the Squirrel Hill tunnels. They're going to be doing stuff in the Fort Pitt tunnels. I don't know what they're doing, if they're pressure washing the backsplashes or what. Maybe they're doing some electrical work. Maybe they're doing some plumbing. Maybe they're fixing the roof. I don't know what they're doing. What they should be doing is making the tunnels wider, but it's probably too late for that. But yeah, the bridges are in bad condition. Growing up, scariest bridge by far was the Rankin Bridge. It's the bridge you had to take to get to Kennywood Park, and it was way scarier than any ride at Kennywood Park. I'm not scared of the double dip on the Jackrabbit or the old mill when there's a legitimate chance we could plummet in the family truckster onto an actual old mill in Braddock. That could happen. You could see the water from the bridge. I'm like, this isn't Stand By Me. You shouldn't be able to see water while I'm driving over the bridge. And whenever they were fixing that bridge, they had bales of hay on the bridge. I was like, I don't know if PennDOT ran out of cones or if there's going to be like a petting zoo on this bridge. But then they were trying to, at one point, fill the potholes, and they didn't even have concrete. They had that concrete helper. There's just a guy from PennDOT, one arm tamping it with a Newport hanging out of his mouth. You drive over it and it's just Skittles in your undercarriage for like 2 miles. And it's not PennDOT's fault, by the way. I'm not ragging on them. Those guys work their ass off. I don't know what their budget is every year, but I know it's nowhere near enough for all the stuff they have to do. I feel like every year on January 2nd, they're like, all right, shit, we're out. Guys, we're going to need to fill these potholes. Start bringing in stuff from around your house. Anybody have some old black stonewashed jeans? Anybody have any leftover taffy from Rehoboth? Put those in the hole. We got to fill these holes. We got to figure this out. And with the bridges, they have to try to do some kind of rehab or blow it up completely before it just slides down into the ravine like the Frick Park Bridge. Remember when that happened? Right as the president was about to come to Pittsburgh to talk about how crappy our infrastructure is. I mean, the timing on that was mwah, chef's kiss. That bridge is actually called the Fern Hollow Bridge, which absolutely nobody knew. And if you say you knew it was the Fern Hollow Bridge, you're lying. I grew up by that bridge my entire life, had no idea what that bridge was called until, it slid down the hill and took that bad bus with it. And that was one of the great visuals that we've had in Pittsburgh history. We had a bus coming out of a sinkhole downtown, and we had a bus on a crane that people made into a Christmas ornament. And I brought this up at the mayor's inauguration. Corey O'Connor, who was a councilman at that time, came and spoke about that bridge. And I jag him off about this constantly. He said this. You can find this interview. He said, I do believe that they addressed the rusted out beams on the Fern Hollow Bridge a little while back. And I'm not an engineer, but I believe they used bungee cords. And I was like, I hate to break it to you, Court, but whoever fixed that bridge was not an engineer either. Who fixed this bridge? My dad? Bungee cords? It was just too funny. And then, the president arrives in Pittsburgh and sets up his entire press conference right in front of my church that I grew up going to, Waverly Church, in front of this bridge that had just collapsed. And Fetterman shows up looking like Stone Cold Steve Pittsburgh. He's wearing like And One mesh shorts and a filthy hoodie like he just came from Planet Fitness. I'm like, hey, Fetterman, take your AirPods out. You're about to meet the president. And by the way, Fetterman is such a giant human. I'm not totally convinced he wasn't out for a stroll in Lower Frick Park, smacked his head off that bridge and knocked it down, and then showed up to play it off. He just shows up like, what happened? There's a collapse? Oh, am I bleeding? I must have popped a zit. He picks a tree out of the back of his shoe and flicks it behind the church. Oh, this is crazy. So I guess we have to do our diligence and get ahead of these bridges, because as we've seen, they will just fall down. They will fall down, and a lot of people will get hurt. So if we can't build a litter box underneath them to catch the bridge turds, we got to blow them up. And I think when we blow them up, we got to figure out, is this bridge worth keeping? But we're not going to figure it out on this podcast. That is all that we have time for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with everyone you know. This is our Pittsburgh podcast, so it's kind of on you to help. Make sure you get down to Arts Fest next weekend and keep having fun in and around downtown. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Oh, I forgot to mention, I stole these from Sean Casey's house. In the last episode when we spoke, he shamed me for not having a bobblehead of his. I showed up to his house. He said he didn't know where they were. They were in storage. And so I said, I'm taking these two and holding them hostage until I get what I was promised. And so I will have these here in the studio until I get the other bobblehead that Sean promised me. But make sure you go to caseysclubhouse.org. Come out to the Day of Giving tonight at Casey's Clubhouse in the South Hills. And please donate any amount that you can. Every amount helps. Thank you guys so much. And thank you to Travis Grubb, who made these RVA bobbleheads, 18-inch, custom-made, hand-painted, and in my possession until I get the bobbleheads that he told me I was going to get. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, all of you. We'll see you next Tuesday.